Greetings, citizens of Nerdtropolis. Sean Todd here, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and on this episode of Real Insights, my guest is actor David Arquette. Hello, Mr. David Arquette. It's great to see you again. We had a chance to chat for Quantum Cowboys back, I think, a couple of years ago. So we've been connected ever since. So good to see you.
Great to see you too.
Really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today about The Good Half, which I truly enjoyed. I love the cast, but it also seems very random on paper, right? When you look at it, but it really isn't when you see the film play out. So I wanted to know, what was it like working with like Nick Jonas and the rest of the cast, which are like really the best out there, putting everyone together and making this really great film?
Oh yeah, it was really an honor to work with all of them. They were really so talented, and I've been a fan of all of them really for a long time. And being able to work with Nick Jonas, I was so impressed at just how incredibly talented he was, but also how funny he was, how he could think on his toes, how he could, find the nuance between comedy and dramatic elements. Um, yeah, so that was really wonderful, just in general, to work with them all. Brittany I'd met before, but I'd never worked with. Matt Walsh, I'd been a fan of his comedic acting for a long time. Elizabeth Shue is just such a legend. I didn't get to work with Alexandra, but she was tremendous. So I know the whole cast together, just everyone sort of played their roles right. And the writer Brett had written such a script that, he was, a lot of it was based on an experience he went through, so there's very specific elements to it. I mean, Cleveland gets a bad rap in this film just because I think it was from his point of view of that time in his life. But I've been to Cleveland. It's an incredible town. Everyone should go there and check it out. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame alone is just such an amazing experience. So I hope the people from Cleveland can have a sense of humor about this. But aside from that, I don't know. Playing the role of Rick I was sort of this outcast about it. Also, it was always like, I felt a little nervous going into myself. Felt nervous. Rick never feels nervous about anything. He's not that kind of person. So it was fun to play that difference. To if something funny was said in the scene that was kind of cutting toward Rick, instead of laughing along like I would, he would like be quiet about it, or take, he'd take it personally, or like think about it, or like plot against it. I don't know. It's a funny way of like looking at the world. He's a narcissistic character, so it's always kind of about him, and it's funny when you approach something that way because it's not typically how I look at situations.
Yeah, I know. Rick is, definitely a character we're not used to you playing. Very unique character. He's supposed to be really unlikable, but also has some qualities that people will find relatable. You kind of understand him as he goes through it, and you really did a great job with it. So, what was your approach of bringing Rick to life?
My approach to bringing Rick to life, I don't know. I knew he was narcissistic. I had once asked a therapist. I've just always been fascinated by narcissists, and um, I asked the therapist once, what is it about a narcissist? He goes, well, I don't have any narcissistic clients. And I said, why not? And he said, they don't need me. And that just said it all to me. So that's really fun. So you just it's interesting, but you put all of your sort of feelings, thoughts, beliefs just right at the top, and there's no real room for anyone else. So it makes it really easy to kind of approach a role like that or a character like that, because everything's about you. So there's a scene at the end of the film where I get upset with Ren, Nick Jonas' character, and we get in this real sort of heated sort of like fight, verbal altercation. But what they didn't know, what the audience doesn't know, or what my sort of internal character drive was was right before that scene. There's a limousine scene, and they take the limousine from the funeral to the party. And I was written in that scene, but Robert called me up and said, "You're not going to be in the limousine scene." I was like, "Cool," because then I just have some more time off. I don't have to get into work till later. But Rick was really upset. Rick was pissed because for Rick, it was like, I paid for that limousine. What do you mean I can't ride in it? You know, to him, it was like, how dare you? Like, so that to me is was actually where his anger came from in that scene. He doesn't really care that this kid's mad at him. Like, I probably wouldn't have played that scene as angry, and sort of wanting to, cut back with my words toward him if he hadn't been so upset about the limousine. So for me, I just like used it. Even like as I'm walking out the door, I was like, I hope you enjoyed the limousine. They didn't use that stuff, but for Rick, it was what it was all about. It was, he didn't really care about upsetting his feelings. He didn't really, he probably would have played the scene completely different if he hadn't been so upset about that limousine.
Yeah, it's like almost 3 against 1 throughout the movie, and especially that scene with Nick Jonas. I really love y'all's dynamic when you're all kind of going at each other, and it makes a lot of sense. The movie really comes almost full circle at that moment because everyone's just letting out what they've been holding in, which I really love. And like you said earlier, Nick Jonas, I think he's one of the most underrated actors because he doesn't really do it as often, but when he does, he truly shines. And you're speaking of narcissists. Do narcissists drive red Miatas then? Is that the thing? That's the type of vehicle they would drive.
Yeah, let me honest. I don't know. Yeah, a car is very important to a narcissist. It's like a very status. It's like, his, and it's fast. Like those kind of things. He just really like mean a lot to him.
Yeah, I like that choice there. Oh, working with Robert Schwartzman, who delivered a great film that balances the drama and the humor, what's his directing style on set?
He's really wonderful. He's just a wonderful talent in general. He's such knowledge of comedy, music, film, and even like beyond that, marketing and just how to like, how to be real. There's a real, grounded element to him. So he kind of had a wonderful way of balancing that and putting all the pieces together, and then keeping it structured. I mean, Brett wrote a really amazing script, so it was all there on the page, and you just kind of have to like stay in your lane in a certain way, and just really, if anything sort of is improv, that it comes from a place of this character. Half the time, I'd probably be laughing at some of the stuff that they were doing or saying, but not the character. He'd be like in his head about it, like, "What are you?" He'd take everything as like more of an insult or like, looking down on people, like, he just fed up with it all. So, so he had this real wonderful way of Robert, the director, had a wonderful way of balancing it all and just kind of like allowing us to have some freedom and like, you come in with the smoothie, and I think I may have called it a smoothie juice, and then he said, "Oh, say that, and then call it a smooth." And I was like, "What? Really? Okay." But you just kind of go with it and play with it, and then you find these little moments throughout that kind of make it. And he's great. I mean, he did this thing like where we have this scene in a funeral hall, but then he had one of the extra actors sit in one of the gaskets. So we turned to it, and there's this lady in there. And it was like this really offbeat moment, but he'd kind of like, laid it out and kind of surprised us with it. It was just kind of like the way, you know, you just are part of that. Like,
And the
was
casket
really
with the
funny.
flames too, which was really great. Like that's what's so great about this film. It's a serious subject matter. It's being talked about, that everyone deals with, and there's all this sprinkled humor, and then it picks up a little bit, which is really great. But yeah, that scene with that lady just that's
Yeah,
cracking up.
I think all of that stuff is kind of based on it. You know what I mean? Because they do have caskets like that, and that's probably the one Rick will be in.
It's like the
You know
kiss
what I
caskets. They sell the kiss caskets, so they have those out there.
mean? Yeah, totally. There's this whole I'm not sure what country it is, but the whole country like designs these caskets. They spend, if you like, cigarettes, they'll, design a casket that's like looks like a pack of cigarettes or chocolate with the casket that looks like a chocolate bar. It's pretty insane.
It's well, it's a way to personalize, I guess, your final laying place. But
Yeah.
but I love the film that it's like I said, it does tackle the serious topic, but with all the humor. But what do you hope that audiences take away from it? And do you have any advice of people handling grief? Which is really the topic of the
Yeah.
film.
Yeah. I hope people, you know, take away sort of uh that they enjoy the film, that they sort of can relate to the experience. I mean, humor is a really important way to kind of handle grief or get through it. Laughing about the moments that you shared with this person, remembering those moments, really never forgetting those moments. One of the things that's always been healing for me is gratitude, just being so grateful to having had these people in our lives. And one of the ways to really keep that going is to share stories about them and remember times and go to places and just keep their lives and their thoughts and your feelings alive in your heart and just the memory alive, really. That's really what helps me. And then humor actually is really, you have to know when to, tap into it. You could, really hurt feelings too. A lot of feelings are raw during that time, and a lot of emotions and dynamics come to the core. Like somebody could be upset about something, but it's completely something else. They're clearly upset about losing this person or what's going on. Or somebody could, try to be controlling it all because they feel so out of control. Whatever it is, you have to allow some space for people to sort of go through their experience, not to take things incredibly personal, not to let it blow up your relationships entirely, because stuff like that can happen really easily at times like that.
That's very true. That's really great insight right there. Last time we spoke, we bonded over Bozo the Clown, which you have taken officially that's in the mantle of. Can you give some updates to the fans out there? And you're already in it. So like what are your plans for this great, character we all grew up loving? Me and my sister actually were just talking about the other day. And I said, I'm talking to David, who is now the new Bozo the Clown. Is that wild? Like he's still in
Mhm.
our hearts, that character,
Yeah.
that persona that we all grew up with. So what's the plans right now? You're doing a lot. I know. I've seen it.
Wow, thank you. We're right now we have a big event in Nashville on July 21st, where we're doing a citywide baby shower in honor of Peacemakers, a NASA organization that does incredible work. So that's what we're doing. Jozo Bozo, the first female Bozo the Clown, is going to be there, and so is a new character we're introducing called His Royal Kindness. He's a really funny, played by my friend Keenan Walker, who's the uh, duck master at the Peabody Hotel. He's a really wonderful character. And person just in general. And there's music. We did an album that we're going to be releasing soon and do some videos for that. We have a documentary that we're working on at the moment. And we hope to get a TV show and the cartoon going. But we also have a feature film in development, a Bozo the Clown feature film. So that'll be with Tubi.
Oh, that's super exciting. You just gave me a lot of detail. I'm just super excited, just everything you said, because we need the return of Bozo. I'm glad you're, leading the charge with it because I feel like he's a character and just something that shouldn't disappear. It needs to go on forever and ever because impacted
For
so
sure.
many generations as well. And I wanted to know, like, what's been the most rewarding part of your journey reviving Bozo so far?
Well, just really the joy that it's brought. I mean, through this process of learning and rediscovering him, I've made a bunch of mistakes. We kind of introduced him without the white makeup, but he's back to having his traditional look going because it is so important. But what we had first, when we first came out with it, we didn't want to scare people. So, but instead of not wanting to scare people, we upset some of the true fans. So we really went back to the drawing board and did a real sort of deep dive into the history of Bozo and where it came from, and what he meant to so many. We learned about all the different Bozos throughout all the different markets out there. So everyone had their own Bozo. I mean, WGN was the biggest, sort of most visible, but we've learned a lot. It definitely will, take it in its own new direction, but still, we'll always remember what it was in the past and sort of hope to build on that rather than change it.
Yeah, I love it. What do you think the appeal was of Bozo when it was first introduced? I mean, because like I said, it lasted for generations as well, and people still talk about it, and you brought it back, which is fantastic. And there's been obviously there's a lot of clowns out there in general and history of clowns. But what do you think makes
Yeah.
Bozo really number one on top? What do you think it was?
Well, he does go back to like the late 30s, early 40s. So I mean, the 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 memories that just brings up, and being a child and reading these books that you could play a record, read along with, and then the TV shows, and then the cartoons, and just these moments that you shared, and like at some points it would become so like ritual that you'd run home and go see the show, and you want to be on the show, and you want to like win the toys, and you want to meet the clown, and you've always I personally felt when I was a kid like Bozo was my buddy, like my pal, and I had always wanted to be Bozo. I was like, wish I could be a clown like that. So I sort of spent my whole life trying to achieve that, and then I do it, and then I learned a lot, and I have been learning a lot about what goes into it. I've been taking clown, lessons, and understanding what that whole world's about. It's a really special world. That's been the most rewarding part. Doing events like Bob Baker Day, we've done a couple of those in Los Angeles, and just sort of giving back, like just entertaining. The a clown's gift is his performance. So you just kind of like, you know, spread joy, like make people happy. That's really what it's all about.
No, I love that. Here at Nerdtropolis, we're going to support Bozo the Clown forever. That is our clown
Yes.
here at Nerdtropolis, so you always have our support. You've done so many
Look, there he
films.
is right
There you
there.
go. Yeah, show. Yeah, I need to get some merch. That's for sure. I
Yeah.
need. So I love that y'all have a
Well,
lot
we
of merch and
got
stuff like
some new
that.
stuff coming down the pike, so
No, that's super
keep your
exciting.
eyes
No,
out.
that is awesome. I appreciate you bringing Bozo back. And I wanted to talk real quick. There's been so many movies that people always approach you about. And I approached you about other movies before, but I wanted to revisit one film, Airheads. Just
Yeah.
because I don't know why. That's a movie I just love rewatching and rewatching. And I just wanted to know, like, did you think that cult classic, like that film would become a cult classic after all these years? And what do you think made that film so special and enduring, and especially today?
Well, it's interesting. Like there are parallels between sort of the movie, the Good Half, and like Airheads. It's having a really fun script, a really sort of smart comedic script, but then it's casting it with people that can sort of do that and play and like really bounce off each other, and figure out where they fit into the thing. Sometimes the different characters, like different personalities, sometimes come into the play to kind of mix up a set or mix up a project. Or so when you have the right sort of elements and you put them all together in the right way. I mean, on Airhead specifically, they had so many incredible people in that film, and just like everybody was able to like have fun with it and laugh at it and like joke about it, and find their little moments and their characters and their like stuff, you know, and I was just starting out and just sort of, figuring it all out, and uh, having a lot of fun. I mean, it took a lot of time to shoot that movie. So a lot of the time I was just in the background and just kind of like trying to find these little moments. Like there's this one part where I have this, a big magnifying glass, and I'm playing a video game. But that came from me being bored playing this video game all the time. And then I saw this magnifying glass that was sort of part of set decoration. I like moved it over, and then the director was open enough to be like, yeah, let's start the scene out like that. So it's little moments like that where you find like, find your character, find these these moments. I mean, I love comedy, and I love being able to work with other comedic actors and finding the right balance where you like are kind of it becomes a dance to a certain degree where you're finding these moments with each other and just having fun.
No, no, I love that movie. I'm glad we got to revisit that one because it has the ultimate cast. It's wild, like how many people are in that film. So I'm glad we got to revisit that. I'm going to probably watch it
Yeah.
again today. But
Awesome. Thank you.
but David, it was great to catch up with you. It was really great, and I cannot wait to chat again soon with you.
You too. Great to talk to you again, Sean.
Once again, this is Sean Taj, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and stay tuned for more movie news, reviews, interviews, and trailers.